Today I'm going to discuss the pros and the cons of 13 different print-on-demand marketplaces to help you make a better choice when you open your next store. And on top of that, I will also give you a bit of a guide as to what to expect in terms of monthly profits for each of these platforms, or what the potential is, I should say. And bear in mind, this is based on my own opinion and my own experiences, so your results might not be the same. You might be making more or less. It just depends on what sorts of designs you're uploading, how much you're uploading, and what niches you're entering. So everyone's experience is going to be slightly different. The first marketplace I want to talk about is Amazon Merch. This is one of the biggest names in the print-on-demand space, and for good reason. One of their biggest pros is that they just have a massive amount of organic traffic. So Amazon gets billions and billions of visitors every single month, and people go to Amazon to spend money. They're prepared to buy something. The combination of these things just makes it very, very likely that you can make a lot of sales on this platform. Now, that's something we'll talk about later when it comes to the potential, but yeah, traffic is a massive benefit here. And secondly, you actually get access to the Amazon Ads console when you reach a certain tier within the Amazon Merch program, and the access to their ads console is definitely another pro, because you get a lot of control right here, and when you're running your ads over the bid amount, over the search terms that you target, this just makes it even easier to drive even more traffic to your listings on top of the organic traffic. And next up, a short little pro is that the account is free. You don't have to pay anything for it, like a monthly fee. And that's definitely really good, because the Amazon Seller Central account, which I'll also mention later on, does have a monthly fee attached to it, but Amazon Merch is free. We've also got Prime shipping, which you might have never thought about, but the Amazon Merch catalog gets sold with Prime shipping attached to it. Now, this is a big benefit, because customers who have an Amazon Prime subscription don't have to pay for shipping for these products. That makes the conversion rate even higher. Secondly, the products get shipped very, very quickly. They're sometimes there literally 2 days after you order them. This is really beneficial, especially for the holiday season, when a lot of people are shopping very, very late for Christmas. Amazon is literally one of the platforms that you will get sales on for the longest time leading up to Christmas. I think last year it didn't last that long. The cutoff was quite early for some reason, but usually you can still get a lot of sales just a few days before Christmas. Other platforms, they can't do that. They can't fulfill their products or get them shipped out that quickly to customers. Once again, big pro right here. The tier system, I wanted to mention it as a pro because it kind of is, but it is also a downside, which I'll mention in a little bit here. The good thing about the tier system is that it sort of gamifies the experience for the sellers, and something that is gamified often is more motivating, it's more fun, it's not as dry, it just gets people to invest more time into it. The good thing about the tier system as well is once you are in the higher levels and you can upload more stuff, like your daily limit is really high, that really pushes you to post a lot of designs onto the platform and fill out those slots to get up to the next tier, right? This is an example of people spending more time to upload more designs, to put more work into the platform because of this tier system. If you just had an unlimited amount of slots from the start, you wouldn't really have that motivation. Moving on to the cons, to the downsides of Amazon Merch, there is a few, unfortunately. So first of all, we've got the outdated interface. This is not a massive downside because there is things like Pretty Merch and Productor for Merch by Amazon, which make life a lot easier. But if you start out and you don't really know about these, then managing your designs and analyzing your sales history is all quite difficult because their interface is just so outdated, not very user-friendly. It's not a big issue because there is so many tools to help you out, but it's definitely a bit embarrassing for such a big, massive platform. Next up, we've got the terrible seller support. I definitely had to mention this because unfortunately, anyone who reaches out to the Merch by Amazon support team usually, in probably 99% of the cases, gets a response that is just templated. Everyone has seen these before. It's literally the same copy and paste email that they send to everyone as well. And the goal of the support isn't really to help you out with your question, it's just to send you a reply. That's what it seems like. Now, there are some rare instances where you will get a personalized response, but it is very rare and it's very hard to get them, and it's not sure how to get them. If you ever have a problem with like a rejection or you're not sure about their policies, it is hard to actually get an answer from the Amazon side of things, and that's why we're sort of living in the dark with many of the questions and issues related to Amazon. Next up, we've got the application process. In case you didn't know, to get into the Amazon Merge program, you have to send an application. Now that is on their homepage. It walks you through the steps, and it is quite hard to get accepted. I believe more people get rejected than they get accepted with this. That is quite a shame. They also don't make it very clear what the requirements are. We can only just draw some sort of common consensus that it might have to do with the location you live in. It might be easier to get accepted if you're from the US. Yeah, you might be better off if you send a portfolio. There is some things that can help you out, we think, but you never know for sure, and it is quite hard to actually get into Amazon Merge. Then there's also the fact that once you get accepted, you start off in the lowest tier called tier 10, where you can only upload 10 designs, and that is quite a hard prospect, because with 10 designs, you then need to reach 10 sales to be eligible for the next tier, which is tier 25. And the process carries on like this. You keep reaching higher and higher tiers if you hit the sales target, and then you can publish more designs. Now, the downside here is that it's very, very hard to get out of the lower tiers because you have such a limited amount of designs to upload. And it is hard to get sales if you're completely new and you can only upload a very small amount. So that is quite annoying. It is a downside. Again, the tier system is good in some ways, but it is obviously bad for the people at the bottom. And the last point I wanted to mention is the strict policies. So Amazon Merge is one of the strictest platforms when it comes to actually enforcing their content policy, meaning, you know, trademarks and offensive content, stuff like this. They are very, very strict and will often give you rejections for listings that seem to be okay and would be fine on most other platforms, but Amazon doesn't like them. So be really, really careful with what you upload. Make sure that you read and understand the content policy, and also educate yourself on trademarks and find some good tools to help you check for trademarks, because Amazon will give you rejections very quickly, and if you get too many rejections, then your account might be banned. So that is one of the downsides, that they're quite strict in this area. If you're wondering what to actually sell on this platform, then for most people, standard t-shirts actually sell best by far, usually way more than all the other products. And from my experience, the second best seller is usually hoodies. When it comes to the potential for Amazon Merch sellers, now it is not rare that people make over $1,000 a month in profit. There is a lot of people who do 5-figure profits as well, and that is also relatively achievable when it comes to something like December. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's going to get there in 3 months. That's not the idea. I'm saying this is the potential with the platform, and it is a reachable amount to get 4-figure sales, or 4-figure profit, I should say, every single month. The second marketplace we're going to talk about is Etsy. One of the pros here is, once again, huge organic traffic. Now, compared to Amazon directly, it looks like they're not getting a lot of traffic, but that's just because Amazon isn't really a fair comparison. In the print-on-demand space, Etsy is still one of the biggest options when it comes to traffic. They literally dwarf some of the other names like Zazzle, for example, which I'm also going to talk about later. But essentially, that is one of the big pros. Then we've got the ability to have a personal shop with personal branding and everything that you can run traffic to. Etsy's got quite a good name, so that is definitely a good benefit of it as well. Then you get quite a lot of control with Etsy, which is definitely really good. You can control the pricing, you can control the mock-ups, the shipping, like where you're selling to. You can offer more customized packaging with certain production partners. There's like way more options than with almost all of the other print-on-demand companies that I'm going to mention. So Etsy definitely is your best bet if you want to have a lot of control and you want to have quite a personalized shop that meets your needs. So moving on to the cons, we've got one downside definitely is that it is not free to have an Etsy shop. So first of all, you've got the listing fees. Every time you want to list a new product, it costs you 20 cents per listing, and these listings expire after 4 months. So if you didn't get a sale, you will have to relist, otherwise it won't be shown anymore on the marketplace. So that is one downside. You also have to pay for the production partner for the pieces to get printed. That is something that happens before you get paid, and this will turn a lot of people off. But essentially, if an order is placed, if one of your designs sells, you pay Printify, Printful, My Designs, whoever, you pay them up front to print and ship out the product, and then later on, after the customer has received it, Etsy pays you what the customer has paid minus their fees. So you have to sort of have an upfront investment here before you get your profit or your revenue. So that might turn some people off. It's a bit of a con, but it's not that bad once you get going. You get used to it. Then another downside to Etsy is that they are known for just randomly banning accounts. It's especially common with very new shops, and you can usually get your new shop back. But they also do this to established sellers sometimes. You hear some horror stories where big shops just suddenly get shut down, no idea why, and the support is like very hard to reach. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely a scary thing, and Etsy's notoriously known for this, so big downside there. Unfortunately, Etsy is definitely more work than most of these other platforms because you have to sort out customer service. So if something gets lost in the mail, if someone wants a refund, you have to actually communicate with the customers, which is usually managed by the print-on-demand marketplaces for you. And another downside is that it is quite a hard platform to get set up with as a complete beginner, because there's like the shipping settings you have to configure, various different other things that, you know, the mock-ups are a big part of getting sales with Etsy, and that can be quite time consuming. There's just a lot of things to it which can be quite difficult to wrap your head around if you're just starting out with print on demand. That's why I would usually recommend starting out with a different platform, something along the lines of Spreadshirt, which is very straightforward. I'll mention Spreadshirt as the next platform actually. But yeah, Etsy, harder to get started. It's not as beginner friendly, and that is definitely a con in my opinion. If you're wondering what to sell on Etsy, from my personal experience, I mostly sell t-shirts, mugs, and digital downloads. There's also various other products and niches that you can move into. Lots of people do well in these or with these products, like wall art is another big one. I just personally haven't had much success or haven't put really much time into selling wall art myself. And in terms of potential for Etsy, it's definitely not rare to get multiple 4 figures a month in profit. I've done it before, lots of other people do it. Once again, it's not something you're going to reach necessarily in your first few months of selling on the platform. If you keep improving your skills and expanding your design portfolio, $1,000 per month in profit is very achievable. Next up, we've got Spreadshirt. This is a marketplace that I've been selling on for many years now. It was one of my first, I think, 3 platforms I started on, and some of the pros for Spreadshirt are, first of all, it's free to start, so you don't need to apply to the platform, you don't have to pay any fees. They also have a very easy upload interface. Now, it does take a little bit of time to set up your templates initially, but once you've done that, it's really quick. It's very easy and straightforward, and it's very intuitive. So in my opinion, Spreadshirt is very beginner friendly. So if you're completely new to print on demand and you just want to, you know, get used to the whole process, Spreadshirt is one of those platforms that I would recommend to you. Another thing, you can actually have a YouTube integrated shop with Spreadshirt, which is quite interesting for any creators out there. And another pro is that they have quite decent seller support, where you will actually get personalized answers to your specific questions, which is always a good bonus. Now, moving on to the cons, there is a couple here. First of all, you cannot upload scaled designs or templated designs usually. So scaled designs meaning you have like one bit that always stays the same and then just one word changes, and that's something I've talked about a lot in the past. They don't really like those, they reject them. They prefer original designs that you have created yourself for the most part, or if you've used pre-made graphics, then you've altered them to make them your own. So that's typically what they like to see on the marketplace, and they will usually reject everything else. And by the way, here the rejections are not the same as with Amazon, where if you get too many, your account gets closed. It's just they like to weed out some of the designs that they don't want to have on their marketplace. Another thing that's a bit annoying here is that Spreadshirt has actually 2 separate websites. So if you want to sell in the EU, you would have to go to, for example, spreadshirt.co.uk and open a shop there. But the designs that you list on .co.uk only get shown in Europe. If you want to sell to the US as well, and I think Canada, Australia are included in this, then you need to open a shop on spreadshirt.com as well. and upload your designs there separately. So that is a little bit annoying that it's not sort of international. You have to open 2 shops on 2 different domains, but yeah, not a massive con. It's just something worth noting. The last thing I wanted to mention is that you can't control the pricing, or the margins, I should say. Typically, whatever product sells, Spreadshirt has a preset margin or royalty that you get, and you can't increase that or decrease it if you want to make a sale more likely. Looking through my sales history, most of the products that have sold for me are either t-shirts, stickers, or hoodies, so fairly normal there. And in terms of potential, I would say for most people you can expect to be landing around maybe $100 to $300 a month with Spreadshirt. I do know someone who's gotten over $1,000 a month with Spreadshirt more regularly, but I believe that is quite rare. So the potential, in my opinion here, for most people is around the $100 or a few $100s a month mark. Marketplace number 4 on my list is Zazzle, and Zazzle is also free to start. You don't need an application, which is always good for beginners especially. Then you can set your own margins. That's a big pro in my opinion, because if you're getting started, you can have your margins set quite low to help get those first few sales. And then say you've got a product or a design that keeps selling regularly, you can go back into it and increase the margin for that product. And yeah, just having that control in general is always quite nice. They've also got a very large product portfolio, which is obviously good. So I'm pretty sure there's hundreds and hundreds of different products to choose from that you can sell. And that way you can try out various different products. Second of all, I'm pretty sure there's some products there which have less search results or less people selling them. So you're giving yourself a bit of an edge by offering a product that is not as commonly sold. And if someone's looking for that product, there's only a handful of designs offered. That could definitely be an advantage and an interesting thing to look into. I've also noticed that quite a wide range of different designs sell. So I've got designs for probably hundreds of niches at this point, and I find that you can get sales in various different niches on Zazzle. It's not so limited as on some other platforms where you will only notice like your same sort of niches selling regularly, but everything else gets kind of ignored by the marketplace. On Zazzle, there seems to be quite a lot of diversity in terms of what ends up selling. In terms of cons, the interface, the upload interface is quite outdated in my opinion. It is really slow to upload things manually, unless they fix their template system, which used to work quite well at one point, but then they reverted back to the old, upload one product at a time thing, which is really horrible. They also unfortunately blocked upload automation, which is how I uploaded the bulk of my designs to Zazzle. That worked quite well, but they implemented some capture blocks. They're not really Google captures anymore, but they're so strict, they're almost impossible to pass essentially. Even if you do it yourself, it's like a lot of hassle. So that's why they blocked upload automation, and it's made that pretty much impossible. So you have to do that annoying manual process, which makes it less attractive of a platform to sell on, in my opinion. But if you're still interested in Zazzle, I found from my experience that greeting cards definitely sell best, and that is also one of the products that they advertise on their homepage. That's often a good indicator as to what's selling on their website, is what do they show on their homepage. Besides greeting cards, well, postcards as well, that's sort of the same thing, but they have different names on there for different types of cards. Shirts is my next best seller after that, and then mugs as well. On mugs to be doing quite well. The potential for Zazzle. Now, I've classed this as about $200 to $300 a month is what you can maybe expect to work up to on an average. I'm pretty sure 4 figures is possible depending on what you sell, because there's so many products and so much potential. But as a normal print-on-demand seller who doesn't really focus on Zazzle as much, my main focus is on Amazon. That is, I think, the potential or the expectations you might be able to have. I don't know a lot of people that sell on Zazzle, and I don't know anyone's numbers really, so I might be wrong here. Maybe it is possible to make quite a lot more money more easily, but this is just my experience. Next up, we've got Teepublic. This used to be one of my favorite print-on-demand marketplaces. It has gone downhill a bit over the past year, unfortunately, but nevertheless, let's talk about Teepublic. So pros, it is free to start, no fees to run the account. Actually, there is sort of now with the tier system, but we'll get into that with the cons. Next up, easy and quick uploads. The upload interface is one of the easiest out there, I think, and it takes like 1 minute to upload a new design. Very, very good for manual uploading. It's also just overall a very beginner friendly website. Doesn't take long to set up, doesn't take long to get going, get some designs out. It's always a platform that I've recommended for beginners to start out on. They also have a referral program, which a lot of people never really talk about, but it's quite cool. I've used it before, where you just share a link to, I don't know, friends or your followers if you've got a page, and if someone opens a shop through your link and gets a sale, then you get $1 for that sale. And this carries on for the first 1,000 sales they get. So essentially you can make $1,000 per person that you refer if they actually start to make some sales. And I've done that before with a friend and it worked. That's an interesting different way to make money through Teepublic, even if you're not even getting sales yourself. You just share that link, get other people to sign up and make sales and make you money in the process. By the way, they don't lose out on any of their profits. Teepublic just sends you the referral amount, like unrelated to what your friend is earning. In terms of the cons, unfortunately, new shops get shut down quite often, like for no reason. You used to be able to get those shops back very easily through just contacting support, but now the seller support has gotten really, really bad. This is one of the next cons, where you can contact them multiple times via email and you will never get a response. Sometimes you do, but a lot of the time you don't, especially with new shops. If you haven't really done anything wrong, sometimes you don't even have to upload a design and they'll shut you down. So it's all a bit confusing, very frustrating, but yeah, this used to be better. Now it's gotten quite bad. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Redbubble bought Teepublic, so maybe that's just a bad influence. Besides that, another con is that designs don't show up in the search some of the time. This is especially common for new shops once again. So if you search the primary keyword, sometimes your design won't even show in the Teepublic search. Now, we will mention here that just because it doesn't show in search for you, that doesn't mean that other people don't see it. It has been proven that even though designs don't show in search, they can still get sales. Juna's done tests about this and he's gotten sales for designs that don't even show up in search. I'm pretty sure I've had some people in the print on demand community say the same thing, so don't like obsess over the fact whether your designs are actually showing up. They can still get sales, it's still possible. Besides that, they just recently introduced a tier system. So if your shop gets classified as apprentice, which is the lower of the two tiers, then your margins are lower, which is quite annoying. So you either get $3 for a t-shirt at the normal price, or if Teepublic is running a sale, you only get $1. So the margins are quite low, especially if you're in the lower tiers, which is just a recent thing, unfortunately. In terms of what sells on Teepublic, from my experience, and I've gotten a lot of sales over the past few years, I do sell mostly t-shirts, but also a ton of stickers and pins, and especially recently that's just gone up a lot, and hoodies sell quite often for me too. And the potential for Teepublic, this is one of the reasons why I would always recommend Teepublic to beginners, because I find it has quite a bit more potential than something like Redbubble or Spreadshirt, because I would say the potential for most people can be between $200 and $500. It seems to be more easy to get sales with a wide variety of designs more quickly, a wide variety of niches as well. And 4-figure months, like $1,000 profit per month, is also possible. I've done it many times on Teepublic, and I'm pretty sure there is quite a few other people who have as well. Whilst that's obviously a bit harder to achieve and going to take you longer, it does seem to be more achievable and less rare than with Spreadshirt or Redbubble, for example. So that's a positive to Teepublic, and that the potential there on average is quite a bit higher. Juna always backs this up as well, by the way. He keeps saying that Teepublic does better for him than Redbubble, and it might have been different in the past, but now he says his Teepublic is his second best print-on-demand marketplace in front of Redbubble. Moving on from that, we've got Displate. This is a very unique marketplace that I really like because they have a unique product, and that is metal wall art. I'm literally just looking at some on my wall in front of me. I made a dedicated video to how to sell on Displate, where I show you what a Displate actually looks like as well. So a unique product, very, very cool marketplace. And some of the pros here are that the upload is very quick and easy. You can only upload 10 designs per day, but you can knock those out in literally like 10 minutes if you're doing it manually as well. Then the seller support is very good from my experience. I'm pretty sure Displate is located in Poland, but even though there's a bit of a language barrier sometimes, or with their documents, you might have some things in Polish, or I've had it in the past. Nevertheless, they're really helpful and they actually want to try and help you, which is what you would expect or hope for seller support to be like. Then the margins are quite decent if you sell some of the bigger display sizes, and especially if you drive your own traffic. So if you've got an audience, if you drive ads to Displate and they buy your product or your design, then Displate actually increases the margin or the royalties quite significantly, which is, I think, a big bonus, because a lot of marketplaces out there, they'll say, just run some traffic to your shop to get extra sales, but they don't give you any benefits for that. So it almost feels a bit like a waste. And here, Displate really encourages people to drive more traffic, which is good. And another pro that I found is that some print-on-demand niches don't really have that much competition on Displate, because it is not the most commonly known marketplace when it comes to print on demand, and it also requires an application now, which makes it a bit less accessible, and therefore a niche that might be really saturated on Amazon, for example, could be less saturated on Displate, and therefore you can enter it more easily with your own designs. So that's it in terms of pros. The cons, one I just touched upon, it requires an application. It didn't used to back in the day when I started, but unfortunately they've introduced application processes, and I'm pretty sure they're looking for good design skills. They want really nice designs on their marketplace. If you look through their homepage, you will see what sort of stuff sells, and it is quite artistic. They also sell a lot of motivational quotes, which is more text-based stuff, and that's the sort of things that I sell as well. So that's something you could potentially put into your application or your portfolio, which is what they want you to attach. But yeah, it's not as easy to get in. I've heard of a lot of people getting rejected, but it is still possible. Juna got in just a few months ago, and I have heard in my Discord community that there is a few people as well who managed to get accepted. So it's not impossible, it's just a bit more difficult, like with Amazon Merch essentially. Another downside here is that the format of the files is different to most of the other print-on-demand sites out there. First of all, you have a specific set of dimensions that you have to stick to, and it has to be a JPEG, and usually we upload PNG files, so you would have to convert everything and also add a background color to your designs. So that can be quite time consuming if you're doing it manually. With upload automation, that is made a bit easier, but nevertheless, that is one thing to consider, and that could be a bit annoying. Now, in terms of what actually sells on Displate, it is just posters, that's all they sell. But in terms of the designs, like I said, usually quite artistic, motivational quotes, intricate designs, and photography as well. So you can upload photography to these posters and also get sales that way. Looking at the potential, from my experience, it is quite achievable to get to, say, $300 to $500 per month on Displate, and 4-figure months or $1,000 profit in a month is also possible. I just reached that during last Q4, got a lot more sales than I expected, and I also know of some other people who are making a lot of sales on Displate. So it is achievable. The potential is there to make a lot more money than on some of the other print-on-demand platforms out there. It is just unfortunately harder to get into Displate. Marketplace number 7 is Amazon Seller Central. This is Amazon just like with Amazon Merch. However, you're using a different strategy. This is one that I've not really talked about much on this channel, and I'll explain why because of the cons. Amazon Seller Central is an account that you can purchase with a monthly fee, and then you can link that up to Printful, for example, and publish Printful products to the Amazon Marketplace. So you're essentially doing FBM, which stands for Fulfillment by Merchant. And this is good in a sense because once again, you're accessing Amazon's huge organic traffic. So there is a lot of potential here. Another good thing or a pro of this strategy is that you can offer niche products. What do I mean by this? So we know that Amazon Merch offers t-shirts, they offer pop sockets, phone cases, a lot of other clothing as well, but they don't offer mugs, for example, or they don't offer stickers. Well, if you actually connect Printful to Amazon Seller Central, you can publish stickers and mugs to Amazon and therefore have sort of a niche that is not yet offered with Amazon merch and carve out some of those sales for yourself. Another thing that people did back in the day when Amazon shut down for a month during Rona, a lot of people that were listing t-shirts through Amazon Seller Central got a massive boost in sales because suddenly all of the Amazon merch shirts were unavailable, so everyone went to the FBN listings. The downside here is that with listing Printful products to Amazon, you're going to have longer delivery times, and Amazon customers don't really like long delivery times. You probably know it yourself. If you shop on Amazon, if you see anything that's longer than a day or two, you're usually turned off quite quickly. Another con is that the monthly fee of, I think it's about $40, is quite hefty in terms of print on demand. Like for other FBA sellers, that's not very much, but if you're starting out with print on demand, $40 a month just for that account is quite a lot, and so it's not really that beginner friendly. Another con, and this is why I've never really talked about this on my channel, is that the setup to Amazon Seller Central and to connect Printful to Amazon Seller Central is really complicated and tedious. It took me a long time. It's a while ago now, so I can't really remember what even happened, but it was quite confusing. I kept messing things up or not doing them correctly, I don't know. And you also have to be in touch with the Amazon support, which we know is not the greatest. It's quite a difficult thing to put into a video and make quite easy if you struggle with it yourself. So complicated setup. The support is quite bad, as usual with Amazon. If you have any questions as a seller, they're not very good at giving you concrete answers. You usually just get templated responses. And the interface of Amazon Seller Central is quite outdated. If you want to make changes to your products, to your pricing, all of that stuff, especially if you have a large product portfolio, it's very, very difficult. It's possible, but you know, it's just old-fashioned. You've also got a very tedious manual upload. If you don't use upload automation, it's going to take you quite a while to upload your designs through Printful or whoever production partner you're using. I'm just using Printful as an example because I'm not sure if it works with Printify, to be honest. I don't think it does. If you want to sell t-shirts or pop sockets, phone cases, then you are competing with Amazon merch products, which is obviously quite a hard thing to compete with because they have prime shipping. So that was one negative here, but obviously for those niche products, it's quite interesting that merch doesn't offer. In terms of what to sell, from my experience, stickers do really well, mugs and hats. I've sold quite a few hats as well, which if you're selling embroidered hats, be aware that your design files have to be in a specific way. Like you can't have too many colors or too many details. They will get lost in the embroidery. So make sure that your designs are good for embroidered hats. The potential here is definitely possible to make a few $100s to $1,000 a month or more. It is Amazon, so the potential is huge. I personally have never made thousands a month. It just doesn't seem to work as well for me than some of the other platforms out there, but I do know people get $1,000 plus profit with Amazon Seller Central, but it is possible. It's just quite difficult to get it set up and running. Next up, we've got KDP, which stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. And in case you didn't know, this is just another way to sell on Amazon. It used to be for authors, or that was the intention, I think, to more easily publish their books without having to go through a separate company and having to get them printed up front and all of that stuff. But you can sell stuff through KDP even if you're not an author and you don't have a story. So I'll mention some of those ideas later on, but essentially some of the pros are that it is free to start and you don't need to send an application. So if you compare this to Amazon merch, it's a lot easier to get in and you get access to Amazon's marketplace. That's the next pro. Huge organic traffic, right? I don't have to go over that again. It's just what comes with Amazon. Then also, once again, you get access to Amazon ads. You can advertise your listings and drive extra traffic to them to increase your sales and your success. So those are definitely some massive pros. And some of the cons to mention right here are that the manual upload is quite tedious, long, and boring. Anyone who's ever had to do it can probably agree with that. And compared to other print on demand sites, it definitely takes quite a long while to upload your designs. So that is a downside. There is upload automation, but obviously for people who don't like it, this would be a reason to put you off. The interface is quite old and buggy. From my experience, the sales statistics never seem to load, which is super annoying if you want to see what's sold. KDP is also known for randomly closing accounts and not really giving any reasons or reasons that don't make sense. So that is a big downside in my opinion. And the seller support, no surprise with Amazon, is quite terrible. So templated responses are also the norm here, and it is rare to speak to an actual person. In terms of what to sell on KDP, I'm personally not an expert. I've only ever done KDP sort of on the side, not paid much attention to it. So coloring books is what often comes up on YouTube and what people mention. That is definitely a popular niche within KDP, and things like planners I believe can also do well. So take a look into that with YouTubers who know what they're talking about. I'm not huge on KDP. In terms of the potential, I do know that like multiple thousands of dollars a month in profit are definitely achievable. Lots of people do it, and whilst once again you won't get that instantly, it is not hard because you've got Amazon's massive organic traffic to help you out. So if you find the right kinds of niches and you get some momentum going, you get a large portfolio of designs, you can achieve decent income, 4 figures a month, very effectively with something like KDP. So definitely good bonus and super interesting for a marketplace that you can easily join, and that also doesn't cost you anything as a monthly fee or whatever. Marketplace number 9 is Tostadora. This is not very well known, but it's still a decent print-on-demand marketplace, at least from my experience, in my opinion, because I do get daily sales on this platform. And the first pro, and this is the biggest pro ever, is that Tostadora is Spanish for toaster. So if you want to tell people that you make money on a website called Toaster, then start selling on Tostadora. But all jokes aside, it is free to start. The seller support is amazing. I've had some issues with them in terms of payouts being incorrect numbers, and they did compensate me for it and worked everything out. Very, very kind support. The competition is not as high. So let me explain that. Basically, there is some niches that are once again highly competitive on say Amazon, Redbubble, but on this website, because it's less known, not as many people sell on it, there are some niches that just barely have any results. Yes, there is less traffic, which I'll get to in a minute, but that doesn't mean you can't get sales. Another pro is that you have control over your margins. So while you're uploading, you can control how much you want to charge on the t-shirts, etc., and then you get more profit per sale if you so wish. You can also go in later on and edit the profit per product if something is selling for you on a regular basis. In terms of cons, the interface, to be honest, is quite old-fashioned. It is fairly straightforward and sort of self-explanatory what you have to do for the most part, but it does look outdated and it's not always very intuitive. Another downside is that there isn't a lot of traffic. Now, I will mention though, traffic is not everything, because I am getting daily sales on this platform and I'm definitely getting more sales than on Redbubble, for example. Whereas Redbubble has a ton of traffic. Don't always just focus on traffic is what I'm trying to say, because sometimes less traffic can be good if the competition is lower. Another thing, and this could be a downside, is that they mainly sell to Spanish customers. So I know this because you can actually see the city of where someone purchased your design from when you get an order. And also if you look at SimilarWeb and you look for the traffic for each domain, then the Spanish domain of the website definitely gets the most traffic. That is a bit of a downside if you have a lot of English designs or say American flag style designs that wouldn't really be interesting to Spanish people. But if you do have designs that are more graphic based or simple English stuff, then they can definitely do well on this website still. I hardly have any designs that would be specifically aimed at Spanish people, but I'm still getting a lot of sales. So it is a bit of a con, but it is not something to take too seriously. If you have designs that would be easily understood by European nations, you can get sales on Tostadora. In terms of what to sell, I had a look through my own sales history, and it's mainly t-shirts that sell for me, hoodies, and occasionally some wall art too. The potential here, in my opinion, it's definitely achievable to build up to say around $200 to maybe $400 a month on average. $1,000 a month, I don't think it's happened to me before. It may be possible, but it's probably very rare. So yeah, a few $100s a month is more realistic and achievable. Next up, we've got Society 6. This is a very old school print-on-demand marketplace, and I don't really have too much to say about it, but essentially the pros are it's free to start, no application, that's where it ends. I don't have many pros for this one. The cons, it's a very old interface, very out of date, and it also has the slowest ever upload. If you manually upload something to this platform, and I did it back in the day when I started, I don't know why, it takes you 20 minutes per design easily. maybe 15 if you're fast. So it's absolutely horrible. Do not recommend to upload manually. I would only really do it if you have upload automation that can upload to Society6. Then the margins are also pretty poor. I don't think you have control over them. No, you don't. And you get like $2 for a t-shirt, for example. Very, very low. Same goes for mugs and all the other stuff. So in terms of what sells, I did have a look through my sales history. It's a lot of wall art. They do definitely push wall art, as well as like all over prints. So patterns can do quite well in Society6. They do sell a lot of patterns. If you look through their homepage, once again, you'll get an idea as to what sells. I also sell a lot of travel mugs, weirdly enough, and t-shirts, of course. And the potential here, though, this is why I usually don't recommend this to people. The potential, I think, is below $100 a month. You can make more. I have made more sometimes, occasionally, but for the most part, you're not going to make a lot of money on Society6, in my opinion, and from my experience. Maybe it's just because my designs don't really fit the target audience, but most of the time, my payouts are below $100. I don't recommend putting a lot of time into this, especially if you're just uploading manually. Next up, we've got Fine Art America. This is not a very well-known print-on-demand marketplace, and for good reason. There's not too much potential, but I still wanted to show it to you. So the pros are it's free to start. The seller support is quite decent. You actually get a quick response. People try and help you out, and you can control your own margins. So pricing, you can increase, decrease, however you want. Cons. So you can't upload an unlimited amount of designs for free. I don't remember what the limit actually is, but after a certain amount, they ask you to pay an annual fee if you want to publish more designs. And the annual fee is, I think, $30 a year, which is obviously a bit annoying. You can make that $30 back, like it's not impossible. Most marketplaces don't do this, so it's quite a strange tactic. The interface is quite old on this website, which is another downside. So it's not very intuitive. It looks very old-fashioned. It's hard to find where to click to see certain things, and the manual upload is also quite tedious. So if you want to manually upload a lot of designs, I would not really recommend this site. Products that sell on here, from my experience, are t-shirts, greeting cards, and mugs. That's what sells the most for me, at least, and the potential is very low. I've got a lot of designs on Fine Art America, but still only make less than $100 a month. I don't know, I haven't ever checked their traffic. I don't know if they get a lot of traffic, but nevertheless, yeah, the potential not very high. It's probably not the right audience for sort of typical print-on-demand designs, I would guess. So if you sell more artistic stuff, because fine art is in the name, you might do a lot better here. From my experience, the potential is not very high. And marketplace number 12 is Redbubble. The pros of Redbubble are it's free to start. The upload interface is quite easy and beginner friendly, in my opinion. In that sense, it's good for beginners, but for some other reasons it's not. So wait for the cons. The margin control is really good. So you can control how much profit you're making per product, per sale, and the brand partnerships as well are quite interesting. So oftentimes you can create sort of fan designs for specific brands or TV shows and sell them through Redbubble if they get approved, and they have to go through an approval process first. I did use this before when they were partnered up with Rick and Morty back in the day, but this partnership ended and now those designs aren't eligible for sale anymore through Redbubble. So that's one downside of the partner program to bear in mind, but it's still an interesting benefit. Cons. So first of all, they've got a tier system that they recently introduced with horrendous fees if you're in the lower tiers, or in the lower tier. I think only the bottom tier has these fees. Up to like 45% of your earnings can be taken depending on how much you earn. So that's definitely a big downside and for anyone in the lower tiers. And then they also randomly just suspend shops. Once again, very common with new shops, but even longer time sellers sometimes get their shops taken down for like weird or unexplainable reasons, and then the seller support is quite bad, don't respond to you very well, and don't tell you why the shop was closed. So that's a big downside. The shirt quality, the print quality on their shirts, on their clothing, is also really bad. Shimmy Morris has done multiple tests on this. So whilst they're really highly priced, which is another downside, the print quality is really, really poor. It will wash off after like 2 or 3 washes. This might differ depending on where you live, by the way, and what print facility they use in that area. area. So I have heard some people say they've ordered shirts and it's been alright, but a lot of people also say yes, they've ordered stuff and it's quickly washed off. So that's one downside, that the customer experience might not be so good. In terms of what sells on Redbubble, mainly stickers. I think most people can say that stickers is one of their top selling products. T-shirts also is what sells quite a lot for me on top of stickers. Now the potential with Redbubble, in my opinion, and from my experience also talking to other people, is not very high. Yes, Redbubble gets quite a lot of traffic, but in most cases I think you'll be making maybe $100 a month to $200 a month. More is going to be rare. 4 figures a month is very, very rare on Redbubble in terms of my knowledge and what I've heard from other people. So that sums up Redbubble. Lots and lots of issues, bad tier system, they're not very well liked at the moment. I still have some designs up there, don't get that many sales. I'm probably, yeah, I am in the lower tier as well, so I am going to have like probably half of my earnings taken away from me, but that's just how it is. Redbubble has gone down a lot over the last few years. And lastly, we've got Teespring, which is an interesting marketplace. The pros here are it is free to start, no application. You can control your margins and how much you're making per order. Also, they have quite an interesting feature, which is a YouTube integration, and this seems to work quite well. I've seen it being used multiple times on bigger channels as well, where they will, showcase their Teespring listings underneath the YouTube video to drive sales. So that is quite unique. The cons, and this is quite a big con, there's no organic traffic. So if you just upload designs and expect them to sell, that is rarely going to happen. You will usually get no views whatsoever on your listings. However, I get sales every now and then, and the reason that is because I have driven ads to Teespring in the past, and I also think I sold some products to friends who wanted stuff designing through Teespring, and since then Teespring has given me some organic traffic on some listings or some of my designs, and therefore I occasionally get some sales. I had periods where I had higher sales, but that was also while I was driving traffic to it. So you can kind of see there that Teespring rewards you with traffic if you market your products. If you don't, then you don't get any traffic, which is quite annoying. So that's a big con. Most people don't want to pay for ads or don't have traffic to drive to their websites. In terms of what sells, from my experience, mainly t-shirts and mugs, and the potential here, I kind of alluded to it, it's very low or close to zero unless you have ads. I don't know how high the potential can be. If you get a lot of traffic to this site, it can be really good because some of the margins can be quite high, I have found. And for hoodies especially, you can easily make like $15 a sale, depending on how you price. But yeah, overall, for most people without traffic, the potential here will be very low, sub $100 a month. So that just about sums up all of the print-on-demand marketplaces that I currently sell on, unless I've forgotten one, but I don't think so. And in case you're wondering how I managed to sell all of my designs on so many platforms at once, I can tell you it's mainly thanks to upload automation. And if you want to learn how to get started with that, make sure to check out this video next, where I introduce you to Flying Upload and show you how to use it.